Race.
Okay, ready?
Got a fun trip.
All right.
Oh, did we get the CRA one?
Yep. Call the Apopka Community Redevelopment Agency to order. Commissioner Smith, you just want to give us invocation and pledge, please, sir?
Let us assume that through the prayer. Oh, gracious and almighty God, we come. Our Father, you've allowed us to see a brand new year, and we just want to say thank you. We thank you, God, for the continued opportunity to serve the city of Apopka and be your servants. We ask you to bless us, guide us, direct all of our steps. We pray in thy Son Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, need approval of the minutes?
No minutes on this one.
No minutes.
We'll have them on the 17th.
Okay, all right. Public comment, anybody want to speak? Public comment, if not, Jim, presentation?
Presentation. This is something that's been long awaited. This is the approval, the request or the subject is the approval of the proposal for the Station Street project from Standard Investment and Holdings LLC. A single proposal was submitted by Standard Investments and Holdings, which is being presented to the Apopka Community Redevelopment Agency, and it will also be going to the City Council today at the 1:30 meeting. This proposal has been reviewed and is consistent with the proposal, request, and property disposal requirements previously approved by the City of Apopka CRA and the City Council, which was on October 18th of last year. That's weird to say. The request was advertised and approved by the CRA and City Council requesting the following. The city and the Apopka Community Redevelopment Agency, the CRA, envisions a multi-use project including affordable housing, downtown public parking, and an extension of the downtown Apopka Trail and construction of a public event space. The city anticipates that approximately 1 acre, and this is out of the 3.43 acres, of the property to be disposed of herein will be retained by the city for construction of a public event space to be completed by the successful proposer, which in this case we're recommending is Standard Investments and Holdings. The proposal outlines the general design of a 60-unit. This is the location. It's again, I'm going to backtrack a little bit. It's east of Marvin Sanders and west of Central Avenue, and it's north of the railroad tracks, and it basically is bisected by West Station Street. This is the general proposal. It outlines, in this case, what they did, they utilized an original proposal from a bid that showed 24 units. They'll be utilizing, they'll actually be adding onto these buildings onto the sides that will allow them 30 units each for a total of 60 units, which is in line with the 2.4 approximate acres, utilizing the Senate Bill 102 Live Local Act to allow them up to 60 units. That, of course, will bring approximately 100 more residents in the downtown area. The proposal and the use of the site is consistent with the comprehensive plan and which does show the site is commercial, and the land development code for the zoning is MU-D, which is the mixed use downtown. Both the land use and the zoning permit multifamily developments that adhere to the Live Local Act, which would be on the 2.4 acres. Once the proposal is accepted, the next step is to review and formally approve the development agreement, which would be scheduled at this stage for the CRA and City Council at separate meetings to be held on January 17th, 2024. The CRA meeting would probably be about 6 o'clock. We've got a couple more items to be put on the agenda. And then, of course, City Council would be at 7 o'clock. In addition, the major development plan, or MDP as we call that, the approvals will be completed in accordance with the City of Apopka's Land Development Code and approved by the Planning Commission and City Council later this year. The construction site plan, which is the CSP, would be completed and approved by DRC and also would be in accordance with the Land Development Code. The general design, this is using some kind of shiplap type buildings on the balcony area and the front porch areas. There's a couple proposals for the walls that are up in the front portion here. I'm trying to get this. This part, either the boarding or brick. They've got two locations, both sides of the building. This is the front view. And again, the other good part is that each of these units do have balconies. And so they'll be looking out on the event spaces. We like to make sure that event space stays good. But they are screen patios, good quality material. This is the side view. And the recommendation is to approve the single proposal, and there was just one, from Standard Investments and Holdings LLC for the Station Street project, and then to proceed with the review and processing of the development agreement, which would be presented and would need to be approved by both the CRA and the City Council. And obviously, I'm here for questions.
Okay, any questions for Jim? No questions? You want the presentation from the developer? Are we good?
What was
What's
that?
pleasure of the
I did get to speak with Peacock
Okay,
a few
okay.
months ago. Are they here?
Yes. Yeah,
Oh, okay,
yeah. You want them to come up?
yeah.
Got a couple of questions for them, Commissioner?
So pretty much this is the design that we're going to get for the
Why
Station
don't you
Street?
come over and I'll. Name and address for the record.
Kenneth Polsonelli, Peacock Capital.
This is pretty much the design that we're gonna be getting down at Station Street?
Yes, ma'am. That's the design we had discussed previously.
So initially it was what, like 48 apartments? And now we're going 60, so is it going to change the height of the building?
No, the intent is to maintain the exact same height. The building's built to operate a little bit like an accordion, if you may, from a design perspective. So all that will happen is it will get a little bit longer, and it'll be the same stack of one-bedroom apartment homes that go in the middle. So to go from 24 to 30, all we do is we add two stacks of one bedrooms in the middle. So it'll get a little bit elongated, but the height will be exactly the same.
So how many bedrooms for the apartments? I mean,
It's a mix of one bedrooms and two bedrooms. So for the 30 apartment home concept, it would be 24 one bedroom apartment homes and 6 2-bedroom apartment homes per building. So times two.
so, and I apologize because I do remember I sat with you when we talked about the different. So even the first floors will get balconies.
Well, the first floors will have patios. They won't be balconies, but they will be screened in patios. Yes, ma'am. So
They'll be screened in from top to bottom or just,
screened in from top to bottom.
okay. All right.
Yeah. Well,
That's it.
well,
I'm just trying to refresh my memory. 'Cause
No
it's
problem.
been a-
Happy to answer any questions the commission
It's been a while
has.
since I spoke to you.
No problem.
Okay.
I'm just grateful you remembered. Most people don't, so I appreciate
No,
that.
I do.
Thank you.
I do remember, it's been a while, but I do remember talking to you. And for some reason, I just couldn't find the paperwork that you had given me the first time, and I wasn't too sure about the design. But being that we're adding so many more apartments, I was concerned, are we changing the height of the building? But you're saying it's not, that you're just making the footprint much larger.
Correct. Well, the footprint's longer. Yeah, I wouldn't say we're making it much larger. We're just stretching the building out a little bit, but the height is exactly the same. It will have the same impact as it was at 24 apartments in terms of the massing for the site. That won't be an issue.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
I mean, I've got a lot of questions. I mean, it stems from when we discussed this over a year ago. First and foremost, this is more staff and not the applicant's piece right now, but from an RFP perspective, there was clear language within our RFP that we desired to have commercial as part of this project. That's what the whole spirit of the Station Street district has always been about, is having a mix of commercial along with the residential. Both the previous concept plan, when it was 48 dwelling units, 36 of which were one bedroom. Now it sounds like 48 will be one bedroom product. And if it's Live Local Act, I'm assuming these will all be rent controlled housing.
For the Live Local, 40% has to retain the 120% of poverty rate, basically. And the rest of it could be regular rate. And that equates to, for our area, a little over $60,000 for income. For two-family or two-person, it gets upward of 110,000.
But the fact is, I just want everybody to be clear about what product is coming. I'm not necessarily saying it's bad or good. I'm just saying, factually speaking, this is what the product is going to be.
Yep.
This applicant was given the green light by this council previously, and the project stalled through no fault of this council or the board. I keep on saying council, this board. We're the CRA board at this point. Why did it stall originally? Why would it not stall again with the same concept? I don't see how things have changed to where we're at right now, where all of a sudden this is back on.
A lot of it had to do with working through the development agreement and getting everything ready for that. So we've actually been working over the last year on that, and we are at that stage. It was the previous city attorney could not. We've got basically 3 city attorneys that are working for different portions, and the previous city attorney basically didn't have time to go through this as a fine-tooth comb along with the developer for finalizing the information. There was a lot of back and forth in regards to what to do with the event space, whether or not we would keep it, whether or not we'd turn it over, and then they would develop it and then turn it back to us. And there was a lot of legal issues in regards to the transfer of property back and forth. So the way we're working the development agreement now is that we will retain ownership of the event space and do a contract where they will actually build the event space along. And there's a couple other things that came into play in terms of the credits and what we can do with the property itself. That's more things that we've got to talk regarding the development agreement itself and how that's structured. But we will retain the event space, and they'll basically build it for us. It's a big change, but.
Well, and that's the confusion of the prior deal, right? Because we were going to basically convey them property
Correct.
to do this project at no charge. They were going to build their residential and then improve the event space, which previously the improvements were a concrete slab by which we would have a blank slate to do our own improvements at our own cost of the city.
That's changed, but again, that's part of the development agreement. It's not part of what we're discussing tonight. Sorry.
But one couples with the other.
True.
One says, here's where those finer points are going to be laid out. Why would we kind of kick things to that next level based off of promises that we've heard for a year now? So yeah, this project has been going on for quite some time, but yet there's been nothing that's transpired.
This is very similar to practically any project that we get upstairs in regards to development. It takes a year to 2 years to get things where they're turning dirt. This is a little bit different because we are dealing with the CRA and City Council, two supposedly separate entities, and the process had to actually be upgraded. That was the other thing that came up about 4 months ago, was the process of how to actually dispose of the property versus just bidding it and saying, here's the property. That was something that our current city attorneys were able to clarify.
I'll kind of yield my time. I know that there's business owners that are in that vicinity of this project that are here in the audience today, so hopefully they get up and speak in terms of where they see value and benefit of this project. But I'll yield.
Okay. Commissioner Smith?
Yes. In reference to, as it was mentioned before, that originally we was going to have commercial space at the lower level, but I think last time we had this before us, we were going to reach out to the other areas of this, in this vicinity, to redevelop commercial space or enhance the commercial space there to offset not having commercial space in this project. So is that still online?
They're still working on that. They've already contacted about three other property owners that I know of, anywhere from the Brattons to the Jordans. And the property owner that, there's also a property just north of what used to be Parton's grocery store, just across the street. Let's see here, right here. They also own this property here. And then they've also talked with the barbershop, Pedro and Luis, in regards to this development of this site, for additional work there. Probably the most promising right now is the redevelopment of the Apopka Furniture Store once that goes, because as I mentioned, I think it was one of the previous meetings, that's wide enough that they could probably get anywhere at least 2, possibly 3 units in there, 3 separate storefronts. And that would definitely give a lot more diversity for the Central Ave area.
Any takers on the corner?
Say again?
Are there any takers about developing the corner at 441 in Central?
Nothing yet. They have contacted the property owner, which is Shree Corporation out of Orlando. They're just right on the fringe of Orlando and Winter, Winter Garden. They were the company that bought that. They bought it just before Henry's Meats, of course, went out of business, and did the demo for that. But I've actually sent them one of the potential plans, drawings for that. And I haven't heard back, but developers seem to have a little bit more of a queue for each other, talking with each other about potential.
All right, so but there's still potential of more commercial development in that area. Okay.
Yes.
And also the other feed store.
Well, we've got the Halls on Fifth,
No, the other one,
Farm City.
Farm City.
That's another potential opportunity. I think all of you know, looking across the street just to the west here, there's a couple tin buildings that they're not utilizing the space, and that's another potential for probably 2 more units right there. So we're talking to the property owners right now about possibly development of that to bring in even more.
Okay.
Member Nesta?
Couple quick questions. It's really just kind of reiterating what we already discussed Tuesday, excuse me. And I appreciate you taking the time with me to refresh me on this and make sure I understand kind of where we're going with this too, as well as some of the adjustments from last year when we did approve this. Walk me through, if you can, the event space, how that is being built, the ownership of it, and how that's being transitioned, and then who's maintaining it and all that moving forward.
Right now, and again, this will be spelled out in the development agreement itself, but what we're looking at is we'll retain ownership, the city itself. There'll be a survey to show what properties are going to be turned over to standard investments and holdings, and then we'll retain the remaining portion. There'll be a contract for construction utilizing, and they'll be basically doing something like an event space, and I describe it as something similar to what they did over in Universal Studios, where they have some artificial grass, some cement, trees, and an event stage, a pavilion. And one of the other things that came out of discussions with the proposal is that they would also be putting in some public bathrooms, which is it's a big plus. When I was down in Claremont, we actually put in bathrooms that were adjacent to the City Hall parking or City Hall event space. And you lock it at night, you open up during the day, and basically people don't have to go visiting other stores in order to go to the bathroom.
Sure.
That's a big plus in itself. We, of course, would retain ownership. They would turn that over to us probably after they've already got construction going on pretty much the whole thing. But we'll get ownership before the buildings are actually CO'd.
Okay.
And there's actually some concerns about that. They were worried about access going through the some of the different areas, and that's one of those assurances we have to write into the DA so that they know that they can still construct their buildings.
Understood. Okay. And then they're taking advantage of the Live Local Act. And what aspect are they taking advantage of that?
Right now, throughout the city, we have 4 areas that can go up to 25 dwelling units per acre. Right now, if they were to develop at normal density, it would be 15 dwelling units per acre, hence the 48 over the 3.43 acres. By going to 2.4 plus or minus acres. At 25 dwelling units per acre, they can get 60 units instead of 48, and they only have to worry about two and a half acres to be able to do that. And that way, we don't have to worry about trying to transfer density. That was the other big question: is can they, if we turn over all the property, and then they'd have to build the event space and then turn the property back over to us. That's one of those issues there. By us retaining ownership of the park or the event space itself, we don't have to worry about any conflict or any other issues with the ownership itself going back and forth.
Understood.
Just
And then,
a lot
so with the
easier.
Live Local Act, are you concerned at all with the developers agreement, with any issues moving forward with that? I know that's not this point of this meeting, but is it something to discuss now?
I'm not worried about it at all. They still have to build it to Florida Building Code. They still have to park it. Everything is still consistent with building standards.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Commissioner Volk?
I have a few. First, I wanted to convey Commissioner Moore is thrilled to death with this project. She's very happy, wants to see it go forward, and she wants to help as much as she can. We talked earlier. She wished that it could be 4 stories because the increased density, but we know the issue with that with the Live Local, and we understand. The bike trail just north of the railroad tracks, can we get with people to have something to look at, make it more interesting and not just the railroad tracks and a business across the tracks and then the apartment complex?
This is something, the trail right now is going to be coming down Fifth Street. And this is one of the other things that happened, talking with CFX. We had to actually cross Marvin Zanders here versus running it up along the edge and then catty corner. So we actually, they're going through the design to change the plan to go directly across and then directly across this way. So the trail will end up going down the back side of the property. You can see it with those crosshatches back around. This is actually a CSX cutout, which we've tried getting them to give that up to us, and they said it's too small to worry about. So I guess when you own miles and miles of railroad, you don't really care about a little piece that'll help a city. And then the trail will go back behind here. So a little over, I'd say maybe about half of this will be directly adjacent to the park area. This is the only part that will have railroad that is basically in view and parking on the other side. But this is all planned, of course, for landscaping and trees and all that too. Considering, I don't know how we can beautify it other than plant material, because as soon as you put a fence up, that's a barrier for security purposes. I was thinking about this also after we talked. So it would be virtually impossible to put something up there and maintain security and cross-view access. Right now, if somebody were going up Marvin Zanders, you could actually see somebody on the trail. If you put a barrier there, you can't see them on the trail.
Okay.
And it gives place for people to hide. So,
That makes sense.
but it's just a short portion. It's about maybe 500 feet or so at the most.
Oh, okay, that's not bad. The other thing I have is just reiterating that Commissioner Moore wants to thank Benji Organization, I can never pronounce his
Benj,
name.
yes.
Benj Organization and Peacock for assisting with this project. And like I said, she's thrilled.
Thank you.
That's all.
Okay. Anybody from the public? Got some folks in red shirts. Maybe they want to say something. And maybe somebody in a white sweater.
Ella Duke, 40 East 5th Street, Propagate Social House on 5th. Mayor, Commissioners, Happy New Year. All I got for 2024 was a head cold, so I apologize in advance if I start to sneeze. I'm here in support of this development on behalf of myself and my business partners, and I want to give you 3 points to consider. I've been hearing a lot about homelessness and hearing people say, what are the developers going to do about the homeless problem downtown? That's not their problem. That's not their job. That's not what they do. They're here to build. They're here to develop. The day I signed the lease for Propagate, I had no less than 25 homeless people living in what is now my patio. I put up lights. I brought people in. They moved on. I don't know where they went. I'm sure one of these fine organizations here in Apopka helped them, or maybe they just went elsewhere. But that's what's going to happen on Central if you all allow this development to happen. They're going to put up lights, they're going to bring in people, and it's no longer going to be hospitable for that type of person to be in that area. Homelessness is not what keeps me up at night as a business owner in downtown Apopka. What keeps me up at night is developments like Wild Oaks. Nothing screams the death of downtown Apopka like that massive, beautiful, brand new, sparkly development going in off Kelly Rock Springs Road. So we have a small window where we can make downtown Apopka the center of arts and entertainment and food. But it's a very small window, and that window is closing. If you do not let this development happen, I really have to consider whether or not maybe I sell Hall's Feed and go talk to that developer about putting something over in Wild Oaks, because that means that we're on a time clock for downtown Apopka dying. Okay, and my last point is simple. Some of you may not like these guys. I don't like these guys. But like I've talked to some of you in the past, you don't always have to like them. You don't always have to agree with the kind of business that they are doing. But at some point, you have to step back and you have to say to yourself, they know what they're doing. Who else do you have? And can we just get out of their way? Like, just get out of their way. Let them do what they do. Let them do what they are good at. And then let business owners like myself build you the commercial that you're asking for. I'm good for 2 or 3 more projects. The moment I get Halls on Fifth opened, I'm looking for my next spot to open here in Apopka. I love Apopka. I want to see it thrive. I feel confident in my ability and in my team's ability. We just need to get out of their way. Thank you.
Anybody else? George?
Good afternoon. Mayor Nelson, board members, my name is George Morning. I'm the CEO of Small Business Advocates of Central Florida. Our president, Mina Robinson, we worked with Binge Development and with this project for the last few years in trying to get it to culmination. I want to speak about small business and the impact that it's going to have for the city of Apopka and for the local economy. A lot of people are under the impression that small businesses get the majority of their opportunities from government. And that's not true. There's more opportunities in private businesses for small business than there is anywhere. And this project presents the opportunity for that to happen. You're all aware of the Apopka Bid Preference Program that we work with the city and the chamber about. In this project here, we will have a minimum of 20% small business participation. The important thing to remember about that is, as the young lady who spoke earlier, when small businesses are involved, the economic impact is huge. She mentioned homelessness. She mentioned a few other things. Those issues are resolved by small businesses. It's not large corporations that go out and hire homeless people or are downtrodden or they're disenfranchised. They're small firms who hire them. The firms that we're talking about here are local-based firms in Apopka. And it's going to be the local-based firms here in Apopka that are hiring local staff here in Apopka. And what that's going to do, the role of small businesses, and we've documented this in many studies, the revenues that small businesses generate turn over an economy 4 to 5 different times. There's a direct impact, there's an induced impact, there's an indirect impact. And those impacts show up everywhere. They show up in retail, they show up in hospitality, they show up in food and beverage concessions, the list goes on. It also shows up in housing. It shows up in employment growth. And the other thing that happens is when small firms create employment opportunities, those employment opportunities are generally permanent opportunities. Small firms don't go hire staff for a project and then lay half of them off. Small firms hire staff, they keep them, they develop them, they grow them. You can take any of the small firms that you have here and around here, and you can ask them the duration of their staff, and you will find that the majority of their staff they've always had. Even when they weren't making money, they kept their employees employed. And so an opportunity like this is consistent with the growth of Apopka. And so the economic impact of this is not going to be so much just from the construction of those things and the tax revenues. The economic impact from that that's going to be realized will come from the 20+% that's awarded to small firms. Second thing that's going to happen is that those small firms are going to build track record. And they're going to go to work somewhere else in Apopka, and that's going to continue. And so you'll end up with permanent jobs. You will end up with continued economic growth. You will end up with the majority of your social issues being addressed. Small firms impact our society in several different ways from a social standpoint. They reduce crime, they reduce homelessness, they increase job creation, they keep permanent employees, and again, the impact that turns over the economy through 3 different levels, you'll continue to experience. All of the developments that's happening here in Apopka now, it's not going to stop. And the small firms that are on this project, they're going to be on the other projects that happen. And with Peacock Capital and Binge, they're going to take these firms with them when they go somewhere else.
Thank
So
you,
I think
George.
I'm running out of time. I see the,
Thank you.
I see the mayor pointing, so thank you.
You bet. Anybody else from the public wish to speak on this matter?
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Troy Buggs with 3 Out Guys Brewing. Very familiar with each and every one of you. I'll give my quick, much shorter than the last gentleman's. I'm definitely for the project, and for many reasons. I'm a business owner right here on 5th Street. I can tell you, we took possession of that property back in 2019 on an idea that we were going to revitalize or at least be a catalyst for this downtown area here in Apopka. There was a couple individuals that said, hey, give it a shot, right? And I kind of told everyone last week about that, what that meant to us, right? Give it a shot. Come here on 5th Street. Our realtor was trying to send us everywhere else, but we said, I think that's the place that we want to be. We're homeowners right here in Apopka that said, we want to eat, sleep, and play right here in Apopka. We're just a simple group of guys with a brewery, brewing beer in our own garage. And we wanted to try to open up a place where other people can kind of hang out with us so we can keep making more beer and keep hanging out. It has turned into something that people here in Apopka has grown to appreciate, and I appreciate that. Just a simple idea. What we do know that there are challenges, because when we opened up, we were knee deep in COVID, right? COVID was real at that time, and we were trying to figure out every way to try to keep that train moving while we were still paying bills and no income coming in. We also had to continue to think, okay, that what if factor, right? What if no one shows up after we're no longer that shiny object in the room, right? We continue to try to pivot and try to show Apopka this is a place where you can be proud of like who you are, where you are. You don't have to go anywhere else. We can give you some of these amenities that you're loaning for, right? We named one of our beers after Apopka. It's the APK IPA, right? You can go around the entire state of Florida because we want Apopka to believe in what they have right here, right? This project, I guess to us, it helps us to try to figure out how can I make sure my rent is paid every single month? How do I pay Duke Energy, right? Because guess what? It's adding more foot traffic. That's all we ask for. Just continue to keep the traffic flowing in. We've had other people come along the way, like our partners over there at Propagate. Just continue to just try to find a way, right? We'll be that catalyst. All we ask for is just a little help. Now, what the help is, I'm definitely in favor of all the wonderful conversations, right? These courageous conversations that you guys are having, right? Is there commercial? Is there this? Is there that? That stuff, it strengthens what these opportunities are for our simple small business. One, every single day we're worried about making sure our employees are paid, making sure our customers and our patrons are satisfied with the service that we're providing. So a project like this here, guess what it does? It adds more traffic to this downtown area. So continue to have these wonderful conversations. But what I do hope is that you'll make sure that a project like this here has your support as well, so we can continue to thrive here, right here in this downtown Apopka area.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Good afternoon. Caitlin Kasheda, 841 Vota Road here in Apopka. Mayors and commissioners, nice to see you all again. On behalf of the Board of Directors of Main Street Apopka, I come to advocate for the approval of the Station Street project. Developments like this speak to a future vision of our city, one where residences walk their downtown streets and have communal grounds for celebrating culture and tradition, one that is full of life, color, pulsing with the vibrancy of life, one that is predictably safe and exciting to explore. There is an internal need for this future rooted in many of us Apopkans, and it is this need that has driven our business owners, nonprofit organizations, and your constituents to breathe new life into the sectors that they inhabit. To deny the Station Street project would surely discourage and halt the much-needed progress in our city. Therefore, Main Street Apopka implores you to approve this project and add a deeper level of economic vitality, design, and promotion to this area. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public wish to speak?
Sylvester, I haven't seen him in a while.
Good afternoon, Sylvester Hall, 3091 Rolling Hills Lane, Apopka, Florida. Happy New Year to everybody. I haven't seen you since last year. What a great year we had in 23, and hopefully 24 will be even greater and prosperous year. For the project, for prosperity downtown, period. But I'm all about making sure it's done the correct way, so it'll have a strong foundation and it will thrive. That's all the public ask, and that's all the public want to see you dot all the I's and cross all the T's. That is your job, that is your responsibility. And as a citizen, that's what I'm asking. Now, when we look at bringing in the residents, I know from a couple of the business owners I have heard come up here and complain about how the homelessness was affecting their business. So when we bring up things like that that need to be addressed, those are legit issues that need to be addressed. And if you go back and roll the tape from the years back when we was here before the city council before, Mina Robinson got up here and she said, let's get it done. I don't care how you get it done, let's just get it done. Well, those things lead you in court with a lawsuit. Some of them land you in jail. I'm here to get it done, but make sure we get it done correctly. Make sure we look out for the citizens and the residents that's going to be living there. That's all I ask. That's all I demand. I am on board for increasing downtown 100%. We must do it right. The citizens and the residents of this community deserve that. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else want to speak on this one? All right, we'll close the public hearing, and any final comments from the members?
Yeah,
Go ahead. You're the vice mayor. You go.
sure. First off, I want to address a couple of things that were said during public comment. One of which is, I don't think this is a like or dislike issue with this applicant. From where I sit, it's always been about the concept of the plan. This applicant has done other projects within the city of Apopka that we've approved, both unanimously and by majority vote. So it's not an applicant issue. It really boils down for me personally as what was the spirit of the RFP as we wrote it, the city of Apopka, and the spirit of what we want this to be. And the response does not address that specifically. Now, I've heard, the peripheral conversations today. It may not have the small businesses or retail or commercial within those buildings, and it can help or allow others to prosper around it. One of the things that was talked about was the timeline as well. Wild Oaks is doing a groundbreaking this month. So that's going to be taking off on paper, at least, pretty quickly. My contention with this is that this initiative had been previously approved in 2022, and yet it got nowhere close to having a groundbreaking to say that this is imminent whatsoever. So I'm speculating as to how fast this can come online when over the last year and a half, there's nothing to show for it. Another thing that I have to consider too is this is $1 million piece of property. I know the RFP says 900,000 and some change, but that was from an appraisal done years ago, not anytime current. So one could speculate, but give or take, it's $1 million piece of property. At the end of the day, the taxpayers of Apopka are going to benefit it more from a community event space perspective. So we have to make sure that we're being good financial stewards of the property as well. We're being asked to approve a proposal. Nowhere in the proposal as it is in front of us does it say that the applicant is going to pay for the assets and the capital improvements on the pavilion, plaza, lawn, common areas. It's nowhere in that proposal. We can say that it's going to be part of a development agreement to come down the line and this, that, and the other, but from a proposal at hand, in our hand right now to look at and approve on, that's nowhere to be found. So as it stands, the proposal only benefits a developer that's going to develop 60 potential apartment units, 48 of which are going to be single bedroom apartments. Granted, you're estimating that there's going to be 100 people within there, but that doesn't go to create accidental traffic from there being first floor retail in these buildings that would benefit some of these business owners that are in the room today. It's not going to have that element. The only element for accidental traffic will to be ensured that there's a pavilion, plaza, lawn space that attracts that type of foot traffic to come into the downtown area. And that's the piece that's completely missing from the actual proposal, explicitly stated. So unless there's like some sort of thing that I'm missing in here, I'm lost on that one.
Well, considering that this did go out, like you mentioned before, did go out to bid once before. We did do a disposal requirement according to Florida statutes.
I can't hear you, Jim. Can you speak?
So this did go out to bid once before. There were actually twice for the second time, and we had multiple people looking at the proposal web section. The second time, I think there were over 60 people that were following it, and we still got one bid each time from the same developer. That one bid did not have commercial in it because it wasn't a viable use for the property at that time. One of the things that I've heard from different developers, and this is through the Florida Redevelopment Association, is that that's our state organization, is that sometimes you have to build the residents into the area before you get the commercial. We have multiple locations for commercial. It might not necessarily be this location at this time, but this does bring the residents into this area. And I've had to get past that part about the commercial from the first couple of bids. And we advertised it, not necessarily saying it's going to be commercial. That was something that City Council had in terms of the information that we had for the disposal requirements. And it was bid that way, or not bid, but put out in the paper that way. So we followed what was the third time around, and third time is a charm. And I think we're a lot farther away than where we were before. We've got the opportunity to do the development agreement. We're already scheduling it for the 17th. And that's where our city attorneys have worked diligently regarding the development agreement so that it can get the specifics in regards to the parkland or the event space and, of course, the apartment and the parking itself. So this is a lot farther along than what we've had the opportunity to be able to get.
I mean, does-
We gotta
does the
start
applicant-
somewhere.
I mean, does the applicant have any feedback in terms of, my two concerns? A, the timing of why nothing has transpired since 2022, and then secondarily, why in the proposal is there not commitment to do the improvements that we see here on the common?
Well, again, that's in the development agreement, and it does spell out what is being committed to, which is the parkland.
Where in the
The event
proposal-
space.
Where in the proposal does it indicate that? Maybe it's just my own oversight.
Trying to find the exact line here.
Why don't you come on up and answer his other question, just while he's finding it. Jim? Jim? Yeah, let's let him.
I'm sorry, Ken.
As far as the timing issue.
Sure. Well, the timing issue, I can't really speak to in the context of what the development cycle is within what the city does. So I apologize, Commissioner Becker, but I've certainly never stood before you, nor have I had a proposal approved by the CRA. So I apologize for my ignorance on that topic. But within the cycle of what goes on within the city, I can't speak to that. I would like to speak directly to the commentary about commercial and introducing high-density multifamily into an environment where you have a number of small business owners that are already operating commercial space and driving additional traffic. People living in that space, people working in that space, people coming into that environment and adding those apartments will actually do more for the surrounding retail than introducing more empty retail space. And so the intent is to truly do what the concept of the commission and the board is, in this case the board, I apologize, but the board, which is to create a mixed-use environment that's vibrant and brings more people down for a variety of things, but you supplement activity for events on an intermittent basis with permanent residents living downtown that can interact and take part with all those businesses. So rather than trying to compete with those businesses and create a competitive environment, you actually bring more customers and more residents into that space. And in addition, as you heard with Mr. Hitt mention earlier in terms of the income brackets, if you look at one of the tasks we were challenged with by other members of this board and other members of the public, which is to introduce housing that people who are employees of the city and our first responders and our teachers, because we've met with the school board officials as well, and people who are at the entry level of income brackets having an ability to live downtown and participate in the vibrancy of Apopka. This apartment community is specifically targeted for that resident profile in terms of their income brackets. And so our ability to add more of that density downtown will actually be a benefit, not a detriment. So I do appreciate the board and the commission's intent in terms of creating a vibrant mixed community, both in terms of the use and the people. And I think that by isolating this component for multifamily and making the rest of the retail around it thrive and the existing owners who've already invested in the area to do better because they have customers that are now able to just walk across the street to utilize their businesses and services will do more for forwarding the intent of this board and commission than trying to introduce commercial space specifically on the first floor. From a use standpoint, actually that intermittent use is very good in a super urban environment, but in this environment, which is a little bit more suburban, even though I realize it's a downtown urban environment, I'm not trying to get a debate on semantics. There's less desirability for the residents who live in these communities to have a bunch of commercial below them, especially not knowing what that looks like. As an example, we have a small building in downtown Eustis where we've got buildings above commercial space, and that mix is really, and we're right downtown. The people who want to live there, it's a very small population of people who want to be above retail storefronts. And so you have a better chance of actually having a thriving environment where the building is going to be successful, the environment's going to be successful, and the surrounding businesses are going to be successful by limiting the use on this specific parcel, not the entire environment, but this specific parcel to multifamily. So.
Jim?
So I believe this is on page 7 of the entire packet that we sent. I'll just read the whole thing as it does. It says, we propose to use the indicated site of the RFP to begin the project area transformation. We would deliver up to 60 units of 2 residential buildings, the city plaza improvements, and parking as outlined in the development agreement, which is coming in 2 weeks. The site plan for the proposal shows a minimum number of units proposed. Our proposal includes constructing the plaza to city specifications and having the city assist in the funding. The affordability of the project must be maintained. Economic conditions have changed. We propose that the city provide the land for the project while we construct the city plaza with funding assistance to be negotiated. This is again in the development agreement and determined in an executed development agreement. The plaza area will include an open area, open event structure, tower or focal point element structure, and restrooms as specified in the development agreement. We are working with the Small Business Advocates of Central Florida to identify vendors for our workforce and housing program. We will certainly incorporate that effort into this project should we awarded and successfully negotiate an agreement.
And that's, so we don't have that in our packet.
It should be, there's about a 20-page proposal
Oh,
that
there it
was
is. Yeah, the legal,
submitted.
yeah. You say it was page 7?
Well, this is of the printout, so I'm not sure what page. I think it's like second or third page of the actual proposal. It says phase 1.
7 of 27 in the agenda packet.
Okay.
Okay.
So, hold on, guys.
I'm looking at this. Station Street project.
It does say
All right,
that.
So I have 3 attachments. Staff report,
Do the RFP downtown Apopka Station Street project public notice response, and then it's page 4 on that.
Okay.
okay.
And I read it into the record, so.
So phase 1, is it what you just read?
Yes.
Okay.
This is similar to an RFQ, a request for qualifications. They don't specify costs and things like that in an RFQ either. Those are part of the negotiation for the development agreement.
Just, I guess, so I don't belabor a conversation here. From a binding perspective, assuming that this gets approved,
You're binding yourself to move to the next step and negotiate. You are not binding yourself to accept a deal.
right? Because there's a whole bunch of fluffy language around, hey, this is what's intended, but there's no hard language around who's footing the bill and what percentage and what that looks like.
If you do
Obviously, I
not-
get that's the developer's agreement.
But if you do not approve the developer's agreement, that kills everything. You do not, this does not bind you to approve a developer's agreement.
Anything else, Commissioner? Or member? Anybody else?
No, I just wanted to make a couple different quick comments, just in reference to timelines themselves. Well, let me start with Commissioner Becker. In reference to the spirit of the RFP, let's acknowledge it wasn't followed, to your point. I think that we haven't acknowledged. It wasn't acknowledged, but at the same time, I think hearing the information that's out there that the commercial just may not be viable in this specific area, but it does benefit the local economy, and obviously business owners are very for it, and I think it's important that we listen to those that are in the area, those that elected us. Additionally, on the timeline side, which I know you're also concerned about, I don't know if the developer can speak specifically to a little bit more timelines as well. I'll go back a little bit, is that we didn't notice this correctly, so it's almost a good thing that this didn't go forward, because we would have opened ourselves up to a huge litigation. So although I hate that it took this long, we did it the correct way to get here at least. So I'm happy that happened. In reference to the developer, moving forward from here, can you give us a rough timeline of what it looks like? Have you done any third parties, surveys, phase 1s, anything like that to get us moving forward, or what's that look like
2-3 years.
for a CO?
Didn't want to monopolize the conversation with my partner sitting there too. I apologize for the delay. Timeline for us to deliver 60 apartments is about 16 months. And that's going to be from a full vertical. We do have to still complete some of the third parties. I think the board and the commissioners here could appreciate that the investment of a bunch of third-party expense when we don't even have the right to develop would not be a prudent use of capital or time on anyone's part. So assuming that the proposal is approved and moves forward, we can move very quickly on that. So it'd be 16 months. I'll also mention that the method by which we construct is we do one building at a time, and we fully complete that building and start to lease up that building. I think we talked about that briefly when we had a meeting, Commissioner Nesta. And so that's important as well because it will deliver people to that area faster than if we wait for 100% of everything to be done. And then it just becomes a question of proper staging and working with the building department to make sure we've secured areas and do all the things that are typical and normal in this type of project. But
Okay.
that would be the rough timeline.
Gotcha. Would you be willing, I know this isn't what we're discussing right now, but I'm discussing it. Would you be willing to agree to some type of timeline within the DA that by X date, you will have this completed?
Well, certainly, again, I would have to consult with my partners, but it provided that the variables around the timeline incorporate all of the elements that are involved, then yes,
Sure.
we would be willing to agree.
I like to
that.
see it. What my concern is that we have some projects that we have throughout the city that have taken decades to get done and still are not here. So I want to make sure that this is huge and can benefit our community, obviously. So I want to make sure that we're all holding each other to the fire here. So if you guys have a palate for that, then.
And I've been in other municipalities, with all due respect, where we've had plans sitting there and it's been 12 to 14 months before a staff or a publicly elected body responds. And so I don't want to commit to a timeline unless, if we do it together, I'm all in, no problem. If we're partners in this, which by definition we are, given the nature of the transaction, then yeah, no problem. We can commit to a timeline, and as long as everyone's on board with that, it won't be a problem.
Absolutely.
And we can
Thank
do
you.
that inside the DA. I probably shouldn't speak without council present, but I'll do that
Oh, good.
inside the DA.
Excellent. Well, thank you.
No problem, thank you.
Okay, okay, all right. Well, with that, I'm looking for a motion to approve, what are we approving here?
Just for the record, I just want to let him know, I met you sometime in 2022, late 2022, because I have all the notes here. But we started this back in January of 2022, because I have all the paperwork here. So
All right.
I'll make a motion.
Motion to approve the Apopka Station Street project with Standard Investment and Holdings LLC. Got a motion by member Velasquez?
Second.
Can I make one comment before we take the official vote? So, obviously, I've made my concerns very clear on this topic, and I've made my concerns very clear with the business owners that spoke during public comment. But I also, in the position that I sit in, I know that I'm not going to be here in 3 months. And so I believe that all three of the people that would potentially be replacing me on this seat probably feel the way in the spirit of, because it sounds, I'm taking the temperature of the rest of this board, and I feel like I'm in the minority here. So I want to make sure that those people are set up for success as well. But it's so critical that we get the developers agreement right on this. And to Member Nesta's point, the time is of the essence. We have another development down here that's, to your point, has dragged on for a long, long time. And our residents and our business community deserve better. So.
Okay, so we have a motion by member Velasquez, a second by, I think, this member, yes, Nesta.
Sure.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously.